Here's the key that every life insurance agent is missing to fast track their way to success and consistently hit $40,000, $50,000, and $60,000 per month. In this video, I'm gonna be breaking that down. My name is Trey. I'm the owner of Agent Lead Lab. In the past 3.5 years, we've helped 550 agents issue pay $40,000 per month. And on this channel, I talk about the strategies, tactics, and behaviors that you can go out and implement. As always, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna hop right into the video. So the secret hack, the secret to success, the thing that every single agent needs to know, understand, like the back of their hand, is tracking their numbers. Now, it's probably not something, it's not sexy. It's not what you want to hear. It's honestly not a secret. There is no magic formula, but it is one of quietly the most under-examined, understudied, and misunderstood concepts of the life insurance game. And in this video, I want to break it down quickly. So first things first is, why is this important? Before we even get into like what to track, how to track it, we want to talk about why this is important. So most of the times as an agent, you are so caught up in the emotions of selling. Selling is an emotional roller coaster. You're going to get on a call. Your heart rate's going to start increasing. You'll be communicating with a client. You're trying to get your point across while also trying to understand, most importantly, their problems, issues, or how you can best help them with the solution that you have. So as a life insurance agent, it's making sure that they can protect their family. You're trying to get your point across on why it's so important. They also know it's important, but when the call starts, you know nothing about each other. And the goal is to walk them through a relationship on why you would be a good representative for their family in regards to putting together a life insurance plan, and more importantly, painting the picture for what happens if they're not here, if they don't have something put in place. And it's your job through your words to be able to paint that to them so they can move forward, pull out their bank account, give you their social, go through all of their health conditions, and then put a policy in place that actually sticks and stays effective so you can get paid. Now, this is important because a lot of times there's a lot of things that go into that. Previous videos, I've talked about booking appointments. I've talked about intros, tonality, and I have a ton of videos on numbers, but I want to take this video to explain why. So let me first give you context on where this came from. Obviously, I've been talking about this, but I'm getting very granular. Even in my business, I'm actually starting to track how many dials that it takes me and my team to make in order for us to get a booked appointment. Actual dials, not just like the numbers, like the cost per booked appointment, which is the relative number. How many dials does it take? I'm getting super granular. The reason why is the more that you have data, the life is so much easier to navigate. When you walk around and you know, hey, you know, if I told you how many dollars does it take for you to get an appointment? You don't know. How many dollars does it take for you to get a presentation? You don't know. How many dollars does it take for you to say somebody's not interested? How frequently, if you have 100 leads, is somebody going to tell you to kick rocks? Well, if I can give you those concrete numbers, what do? You move with more confidence because you have the right expectations. A lot of times we emotionally feel unstable or we get upset when our expectations don't meet reality. That's really where a lot of frustration comes in. And the reality of the situation is, we all know that you won't close every deal. We all know that everybody's not going to want to book an appointment. People aren't going to show. People's payments are going to fail. You're going to get chargebacks. We know that. The problem is that when you're emotionally not prepared for when that happens, that's where frustration comes. You know that that's reality, but you're emotionally not prepared because you have not actually put yourself into the mindset of when that does. Now, when you look at a piece of paper or you look at a sheet or you look at numbers, you remove all emotional attachment. You just look at the numbers for what they are. They're just numbers. So then when things happen in your life, you also say they're just numbers. This is what? A part of the process. Something that a lot of people say, but rarely they misunderstand it. So let's say you're using dialing, for example, okay? Let's start with the most basic metrics. We're not dialing, let's start from the top, right? What is the cost to acquire a client? Now, people hear that, they don't necessarily know what that means. That means how much do you have to spend in marketing money, leads, ad spend, whatever you want to call it, to get a sale. That's the first metric. To me, once you understand all the other ones, that metric is the most important when it comes to decision making, because it's going to allow you to make a decision on, like, do I need to work on this or work on this? And you can start backtracking. So cost to acquire a client. Then you reverse engineer. What's the next step before you acquire a client? Now, most people will say it's the cost for a booked appointment, but that's incorrect. The next thing is, what's the cost for a showed appointment, or what's the cost for a full presentation, right? Depending on if you're actually booking an appointment, right? Or you're doing one call closes, that's the metric you use. That's the next one, because that's the only thing that happens before the sale, right? Now, the next one is cost per booked appointment or cost per presentation, or what you would call intro to presentation. That's the next metric. And then from there, you're gonna go cost for a conversation, which is not always tracked, but it can be. And to me, what you do is you look at how many presentations or booked appointments you get and how many people you disqualify. Those are all counted as like basically cost to have a conversation. And then the last one is obviously how many, your cost per lead, how many leads you need to book. So you have to go through each of those steps first. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because for me, in my business, I just did cost to acquire client, cost per book show, cost per booked appointment, and then cost per lead. I wasn't looking at the cost to have a conversation, and I also wasn't looking at how many dials it took for me to have that conversation. Now, when you have those numbers, you feel way better because here's what you can do. As a top person, you understand it. You're just like, I'm just gonna dial until I make money. But for somebody new who does not have what? They don't have the right expectations. They don't know what to expect. They've never done this before. If you're an agent, you've been doing this for a while, you're like, oh man, I can't get these people to scale. Well, dude, you don't have a system. Everybody talks about system. The first step to system is for you to know your numbers. Who cares about go high level, all these workflows, AI? That means nothing if you can't give them a blueprint of what to expect, right? Because they are going to get emotionally frustrated and they're going to do one of two things depending on who they are. They're going to keep pushing and say, it's okay, I'm just going to keep going. And I'm willing to go to failure with no clarity. There's very few people that can do that. Most people need a roadmap. Hey, look, this is how it's going to be. All right, you're going to dial 100 leads. You're going to get 10 people to pick up the phone. You're going to, of those 10 people, you're going to book about 4. 2 of them are going to show, 2 of them are going to show. You're going to close 1. Oh, why? Because they may think, I have 100 leads. I should get 20 people to answer. And guess what happens? They get frustrated, they quit, they leave. They're like, oh, I'm like 40 leads in and I've only had 1 person to answer. Yeah, dude. Or 1 full presentation. Yeah, bro, that's what I told you. You're only going to get 2. So it's going to happen within one of these next 60. And if it doesn't, it's going to happen quickly with the next batch. So that's the first thing. You just have to track those numbers. I'm not going to go into the details because logistically you can go do that, but the premise does not change. The second thing is that you need to understand that that's phase 1. Now, phase 2 is being able to equip people on how to correct those things. Okay? Now, not just you recognizing, the superpower is step 1, you auditing and saying, this is the reality, dealing with reality. Most people don't want to do that, even myself, because when you look at numbers, you can't say anything. It's like bank accounts, how much money you have. People, you can sit here and do all this talking until the actual numbers show up. People that are the most successful, they have a really strong understanding of reality. They say, these are the numbers, here's where I'm at, here's where I need to go. Most of the times, if you don't do that, you just like very, what do they call it? Whimsy or basically go with the wind. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Everything you just take as the day comes. You have no blueprint. You have no North Star, whatever you want to call it, for whatever decision that you're trying to make. Now, the next thing is once you audit the numbers, you then have to make, so I said earlier, the most important factor is the cost to acquire a client, right? If we're just talking about baseline sales for life insurance, because you're getting advances, they're already kind of forwarding you the LTV, right? Persistency, you can start looking at those numbers as well as you scale, like what's the cost to acquire a client that sticks versus the cost to acquire a client that may charge back. You can start evaluating that based on lead types. That's taken to another level, which I'll get to. Side note, the whole entire premise of this video is that there's more things that can be tracked. You can track how many sales does it get before I get a referral. The numbers aren't necessarily there for anything but to give you clarity and set proper expectations so you can then go reverse engineer to figure out what you want. Everybody just goes through life but doesn't have any numbers. If you have the more things you have numbers on, the more clearly you see the world. It's very, very, very straightforward. Whatever you fail to track, you are literally living it up to chance. There's a saying, I forget the name of it, but you get the point. Now, here's the thing where most people try to start with without diagnosing the problem. They try to just go into figuring out all these sales tactics, trainings, objection handling, call booking, like how to book better calls, tie things down, AI software. They do all that. And I think that's great. That was wonderful. The industry has so much technology. But the thing that most people forget is before you do that, you need to know what to fix. People are like, well, these leads suck. I should have more pickups. Do you even know what the industry standard for pickup ratio is? Do you know what your standard for pickup ratio is? Well, I had these leads and they were good. Do you even know what that means? Did you break down the numbers? Do you actually have data to prove it? Did something actually change or are you just not tracking properly? What do the numbers say? Well, we had a conversation with the guy one day that said, I bought a pack of your leads and I closed 7 off the first batch. I said, that's great. And then the next pack, I didn't close any. And I said, okay, cool. Well, our average is about 2 to 6 per lead order. So if you close 7 and then you divide that by 2, that means on average you close like 3.5. So you're in that range. I was like, I'm a betting man. If you buy another pack, you'll probably close another one. Oh yeah, well, I just did. Okay. Now, that's number one. This person has the wrong expectations. So they're frustrated because they haven't tracked the numbers. Now, let's say they track the numbers and they say, yo, all my numbers are normally on point. Then they come back to us and we can figure out what may be a problem with the marketing. But most of the times people don't even do that first part. They just complain, they try to fix, or they hop around. Now, the second option is when you actually make a change. You make a change in your script, right? So that way you can tie appointments down easier. You make a change in how you book, what softwares you're using, so it can make things more effectively, so it can track your data better, meaning track your clients, right? You make a change in how you pitch when you close, so you can start writing higher premium. You go from doing traditional numbers to pitching concepts and attaching those numbers to a concept that people can understand, rationalize, and associate with, so you can close them at higher premium. You go from writing 10,000, 15,000, and 20,000 gold, silver, bronze to actually go to writing, hey, this is going to do this, this is going to do this, this is going to do this. I have a whole video that breaks that down on mortgage protection closes. But rest assured, once you can understand how to associate what those things do, you turn out a lot better, right? That is essentially how you can audit, right, your close, what you're saying, how you're booking appointments. You can audit the lead vendors that you're using, lead companies based on conversion rates, but you can't do that until you've audited yourself. And most people don't want to audit themselves because it makes them face reality. And I hate to tell you, but that is the secret sauce. And before you can do anything, you need to audit yourself. You'd be so surprised that when you audit yourself, before you go switching vendors, switching companies, blaming people, yelling at your upline, getting upset with everybody, you really just need to understand that you don't have everything figured out. You don't actually know what the numbers are. So you're getting upset about something, but you don't even have the right expectations. Then once you're properly framed for the right expectations, you then can make the decision on what needs to be improved. It's like, I'm married, me going to my wife and saying, hey, you know what? Like, I feel like our relationship should just be better. I don't feel like you're present. And it's like, okay, well, let's walk through what actually happened and what you feel like I should be doing that I'm not doing. And then when you go through all the things that you are or aren't doing, I'm not gentle when she walks into the house. I don't greet her properly. I give her a half hug instead of a full hug. I'm just making this stuff up, right? I don't take her on any dates. And then you have evidence to show when you go back and look at the data that you're not doing the thing. Or you could say, well, I am doing all these things. Is it the way that you're interpreting it, or is it maybe the way that I'm saying it? Because I'm doing the things, but do you not feel the intentionality? That would be, well, the audit says I'm doing the things. Now, what may be missing? What are the other small nuanced things that I can change? Because I'm doing the actions, but I'm not getting the outcome. So there's still something missing. What can I improve on? There's 2 ways to look at it. And you can do that with anything. But we're talking about sales here. We're talking about life insurance sales today. That is the thing that you have to understand. Until you can audit first, you cannot make change. If you make change without auditing, you will always be making change because you don't know what you're actually changing. You're just changing things. It sounds cliche, but it is the truth. This is why so many agents get stuck and cannot scale. And other agents and agencies continue to flourish. Because not only do they have a standard, but they have a process. And whether or not the agents at these other agencies that are absolutely killing it, that a lot of you all watching this or people know, want to be a part of or associated with or try to duplicate, the reality is their culture has created a standard, and their standard is based around numbers. Regardless if you want to say it or not. You saying that you get in at 8 o'clock and don't leave until 8 o'clock is a standard. Now, associated with that standard, there's a reason why. What do you think one of the things is that they say you start at 8 and leave at 8? It's probably what? You don't leave until you get a sale. Well, guess what? If I know that they're going to tell me I can't leave till I get a sale, and I kind of don't want to stay there till 9 o'clock, what am I going to do? I'm going to figure out how many leads do I need to buy? How many dials do I need to make? And what is the process I have to have in order to get a sale if they're telling me I can't leave until I get a sale? Now it's not that they and most of those people they do have like dial trackers, they do have numbers and KPIs. I'm not saying they don't. But if they didn't, that standard would automatically create that. So either way, right? You really just if you don't know or have that process nailed down, you will not grow. You will not be successful. If you're just showing up and just working, it makes no sense. If you have no game plan, it makes no sense. Most agents don't audit and have no game plan. And if you don't have a game plan and you don't audit, you are not going to consistently get the results that you're looking after. You might have a 40K month, then a 15K month. Oh, I buy leads when I feel like it. Yo, successful people do things that they don't feel like. You have a good week, you buy leads. You have a bad week, you still buy the leads. You need the leads to make money. There's agents we talk to all the time that they're like, I didn't have a good week, I'm gonna hop to this vendor. Yo, they never get above the curve. They never grow. There's a reason why people that grow, because they set a standard and they just go with it, regardless of what's going on. They say, I'm gonna spend this much, I'm gonna dial this much, I'm gonna do this much, this is gonna happen. And if it does not happen, I can go audit and then I can see where I need to make adjustment. And most of the time, I've said this in other videos, it is not part 2, it's part 1. Part 1 is your self-audit. Part 2 is actually changing things. Most of the time, it's part 1. There are so many things in part 1. If your cost to acquire a client is not where you want it to be, there's a step that you need to look at. Okay, cost to acquire a client is not where I want it to be. First things first, all right, how am I closing? Let me audit my closing process. Am I getting into a lot of presentations? What's my closing percentage? Your closing percentage in the life insurance space is below 50%, you have a problem. I mean, full presentation, below 50%, you have a problem. If you're at like 20%, you need to work on your closing. Stop worrying about the leads. Doesn't matter. You're talking about the leads. Dude, you need to work on closing. It's at 50 or 60% of the people you talk to. Perfect. Next thing, how many people are we getting qualified that are showing up? Okay, you could say I'm booking 10 appointments, nobody's showing. That's a you problem. That has nothing to do with the leads. You can't make a lead show up. You can't make a lead want to show up more. Hey, I want to show up more than the next guy. Yeah, you can optimize the algorithm, but like at the end of the day, you tying down the appointment, you getting them to show is a process. Are you calling the person right when they opt in, even after they book and doing a soft intro? Are you texting them your name? Are you following up with them in the morning? Are you sending them a personal message? Or are you letting the automated messages send them? Are you confirming with them and then double confirming and then triple confirming? Are you then sending personal messages? Are you sending them videos? Are you FaceTime audioing them? What are you doing? Right? Oh, well, I'm closing at 50%, but I can't get anybody to show up. That's a you problem. Now you need to work on you showing up. That's the cost for qualified appointment. Oh, well, I'm not actually getting a lot of people to book. Okay, you need to figure out how many times you're dialing, when you're dialing, and get them to pick up the phone, right? Sorry, take a step back. You need to actually dial in your process. How many conversations are you having? Well, I've talked to like 20 people. Nobody's booking. That's a you problem. There's something you're not portraying on why it's important for them to set up a call with you. So we need to look at your intro. We need to look at your pre-frame. We need to look at the contextual questions that you're asking and what's getting them to actually want to book with you versus telling you, oh, I'm not interested, kick rocks, whatever it is. Okay, cool. Well, I'm not even really getting into a lot of conversations. I can't get anybody to pick up. Okay, let's take a step back. How many times are you calling them? Are you double dialing, you triple dialing, or what we do now that gets people to pick up is quadruple dialing. Calling them three times and then FaceTime audio, FaceTime video, if not fourth time. Well, I'm not doing that. Cool, well, then you're not really working the leads properly. When are you calling them? Not how much, when are you calling them? Well, I'm only calling morning, afternoon, evening. That's not enough anymore. Twice in the morning, twice in the afternoon, twice in the evening. Well, that's a lot. Well, then you don't want it bad enough. Don't complain about what it takes to get what you need to get. Because at the end of the day, nothing's going to change. There's no miraculous lead. There's nothing. Oh, I want to do transfers. Do transfers then. That's great. You're going to have to pay an arm and a leg to get qualified, actual qualified transfer people. And if you want cheap transfers, you're just going to have a lot of chargebacks. Promise you it's going to happen. Guaranteed. Most of these people that are running ads for these transfers that are $40, even $50, like, dude, come on, man. Who are you getting on the phone for $50? Between running an ad, getting, like, people, I'm charging $50 for a lead. You charging $50 for a transfer? I mean, maybe if you're getting it at cost, right? Or what are they doing? Their ads probably are garbage, which means you're getting a lot of misled people that think it's free. And like, that's cool if you want to sell people that think it's free, but you are going to get a chargeback. Just telling you, been around the block too many times. A lot of these people getting into these transfer leads, they're just going to put themselves in a bad situation at some point, especially if they're not paying an arm and a leg for quality people, because guess what's happening? They're going to fill out more and they're going to get closed on somebody else and charge back, or they're going to let their policy lapse. You have to understand the demographic that you're dealing with. Most people don't understand that. right? And then you talk about leads themselves and working them and how much you're paying. But like, I just went through every process back from close to beginning that you have to audit where you're at. Now, if you're at the very end, then it's subtle tweaks. If you're at the very beginning, there's a lot of tweaks, but it has nothing to do with the leads. That's everything to do with you. And the moment that you can accept that and you stop trying to fight it and you stop blaming other people and you take an internal audit on yourself, is the moment that you're going to start making more money consistently. I will continue to say this as an owner of a lead company. It is never the leads. It's always the agent. It's always the agent. People want to blame it. No, it's always the agent. You may not want to do what's required to convert that lead, but that's not the lead's fault. They filled that out for some reason. You may have bought it for a different reason, but that lead, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I always say, if somebody wanted a state-regulated life insurance program and you called them and talked about index universal life insurance, they're going to hang up on you because that's not what they filled out. Does that inherently make the lead bad? No. That means you had the wrong expectation about what that lead was, or the company that you bought that from didn't properly explain to you what that client saw. That has nothing to do with the lead. A person's name and phone number is relative. I can grab a name out of a phone book and have a conversation with them. Now, it might be a little different and it's going to be a little bit more difficult. The question when you call people, no matter who the lead is are you willing to do the things that it takes to convert that lead? That's it. It's still a name and a number. The difference is when you pay for leads from companies, like they're incentivized to make them good. They're not. You have to understand, people don't really want to sell you garbage. No big lead company is trying to sell you garbage. Like we make our money off LTV. You do. You can sell a big lead pack and make a few $100. Okay, that's cool. But if you sell all garbage leads to the same people over and over again, you're going to get a bad reputation and you'll be out of business. And they don't want to do that. They got in business to make money. So they need to make good leads. So they're not intentionally selling you garbage. It's just you need to work on your skill set. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth. So as always, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. If you're interested in getting leads, you can go to Lead Lab CRM. If you're interested in potentially also finding out more information about us, you can go to agentleadlab.com. We would love to help. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.